A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to the Vlog-A-Thon. Now here at the Vlog-A-Thon, of course it's number 27 out of 35, but of course what I'm going to get into today is that I'm going to start off with saying that of course we are going to be in the final stage here in the Vlog-A-Thon, but there are tons of new subjects that I'm going to be covering on before then. What I'm going to start off with here, though, is the fact that the way that I see how Angry Video Game Nerd has evolved over the last 16 years almost, I can tell you, it's certainly been getting better in more recent times, especially from 2017 to the present. It was around those times when I'd say James Rolfe has had some pretty good mastery skills with the art of visual sound effects and whatnot when it comes to the fabrication of AVGN episodes. In the last 3 years, we've definitely seen some really good stuff, but it was only up until more recent times, especially with the Pepsi Man episode and onwards, that was really when it started to get so much better. Especially because Pepsi Man was the last ever episode that I ended up noticing before I really started to get into Angry Video Game Nerd. I've already talked about the fact that Action 52, as well as the Cheetah Man episodes, those were the first episodes of AVGN that I ever came across, but of course others eventually started to come by, including the Home Alone games, The Town with No Name, and Masters of Terras Kasai. Those episodes, they were pretty awesome. But it was the Pepsi Man episode, released in May of 2019, that really pushed me to really look at AVGN a whole new way. Especially because at the time it was the most recent episode that I ever saw on Cinemassacre, but in general, that was an episode of a lifetime. It really bared the mantle of having some pretty professional level work put in, as well as the introduction of some new guest stars. Especially because Pepsi Man was notable for having Mike Butters, an American actor, become a star in the game itself. And it was only appropriate to bring Mike Butters back 20 years later into AVGN when the Pepsi Man game becomes reviewed. Now that was awesome. It's just like how in the Home Alone games, Macaulay Culkin ends up being brought in as a guest star to help the nerd review the games, but with Mike Butters going with Pepsi Man, that's a whole new approach. A pretty good paradigm that ends up getting shifted. But ever since I saw the Pepsi Man episode, others started to come around, including the return of Superman 64, Life of Black Tiger, which supposedly became the worst game on the PlayStation 4, and eventually others, like Chex Quest, Jurassic Park Trespasser, The Immortal, the Spawn games, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and in more recent times we got Raid 2020. A new episode is bound to come though, so it's only a matter of time what we'll end up getting. And what kind of game will the nerd be reviewing next. But until that happens, we've got a lot more to come. We've got so many good things out there that we could have reviewed in more recent times. Because after all, it started with just one simple review and critique of Simon's Quest in May of 2004. And then eventually, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde followed along and became the worst game that James Duncan Rolfe has ever played. But of course, based on the scale that had been created in the Darkwing Duck episode, 6 different categories come about. The green one, the blue one, the yellow one, the orange one, the red one, and the burgundy one. Each of which happen to classify different games based on how awful they happen to be. And in the burgundy zone, we got games like Crazy Bus, Desert Bus, Big Rigs, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, Life of Black Tiger, and Hong Kong 97. That right there is a part of a scale of a lifetime. Games like those should never be reviewed or talked about. But of course, James ended up doing them for us, so we wouldn't have to. Yeah, I can only imagine what else could be happening here in 2020. Raid 2020 had already been reviewed. Let's see what else comes by. Maybe the PlayStation 4 might be brought back into the series. Or maybe even other newer consoles like the Nintendo Switch or Xbox One. Or better yet, the new consoles that will be coming in the next generation of gaming. PlayStation 5, Xbox Scarlet, and Google Stadia. Or otherwise. It's only a matter of time before we find out what else is going to be coming soon, but until that happens, I'm Jay Nowak, a pretty big fan of Cinemassacre in general, and if you want to see more, go down to my channel, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.